So I dumped my last video about Gary Stevenson on Twitter, and now it's receiving a few views. It's got like 120 views or something. It's got a couple of likes also and a couple of nice comments, but it's got 4 dislikes and some not so enthusiastic comments as well. And I'm just wondering who these comments are coming from, and whether or not this is like right-wing people, the sorts who fawn over millionaires and will defend their right to have their money at all costs, and will, it be embittered against any kind of idea of wealth redistribution and any notion of socialism or communism, and with this fawning attitude over the rich, where they want to stoop and lick the boot heel of our capitalist overlords rather than hold them accountable. And yeah, Gary Stevenson is a very rich man, as he likes to point out in his videos, I think, and he's made a lot of money and he's very good at making money. So if he gives all his money away, he's going to be able to earn that money back pretty easily. He's got a best-selling book, a very well-written book, and a very engaging book, and a good book. And he can do that again. He can write more books about economics, earn more money. He's got a huge platform, so he can market whatever he wants to market to his huge fan base. And that making money for him in the future, even if he gives it all away, is not going to be very hard. And this is a symptomatic of the problem that he's describing. He has very, very adroitly assessed the issues with society, and has fixated upon the true problem with the world, and that is that rich people are hoarding money. They are behaving like Smaug the dragon on their big pile of gold, and they are unwilling to share it with the rest of us. And that is the essence of the problem. There are 2 ways you can go about solving that problem. You can either tax the rich using the power of the government, if the government can possibly extract all that money from rich people's bank accounts. But governments seem to be unable to be convinced of this course of action. This Labour government, this supposedly left-wing government that we have at the moment, is unwilling to impose wealth taxes, unless it's the inheritance tax on farmers, obviously, and that's their kind of nod to wealth taxes at the moment. But they're not going after billionaires, and they're not going after the super rich. But I think everyone should have to pay their fair share. And I've got comments on that video saying millionaires are not the problem. I was just saying, like, millionaires are obviously the problem. Gary Stevenson is part of the problem. But some people, they're fans of Gary. They love him. They love his honest, brusque, direct mode of communication, and I love that as well. And I really want to continue liking Gary Stevenson, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of his as well. Watch all his videos, bought his book, etc, etc. I'm very impressed by him. He's an incredibly smart guy with a lot of expertise. But then again, I've read a lot of economics as well. I've read Adam Smith, I've read Keynes, I've read Marx, and I also understand the situation. And the situation is, if you earn any money above GDP per capita in your country, you are taking money away from other people. That is just the plain truth of the matter. Got another comment from a long-time subscriber on my channel saying money is not finite. It's not infinite though, is it? Come on, think. Money is finite. You can print more money, but that devalues the currency. If you're to make everyone a millionaire, you would have a crisis of hyperinflation on your hands, and it would make no one better off, really. But if you were to give everybody the GDP per capita per year, most people's income would actually go up, since the median income is £39,000 a year or so, and GDP per capita is about £47,000. So most people would stand to benefit. I really don't see why people would have such a huge problem with this sort of egalitarian thinking in economics. And this is really the sort of thinking that Gary Stevenson is proposing. And Gary doesn't talk about UBI enough. He doesn't talk about basic income enough. He proposes a fairly vague notion, actually, of wealth taxes, and doesn't give a clear enough idea, I think, of where that money is going to end up. So, like, when governments tax anyone, the governments can end up with the money that there's corruption in government. So you get like massive projects to siphon away money from the system, like with HS2 under the Conservatives and so on, where I think that whole project went nowhere, and it cost about 50 billion or something like this, and all that money was siphoned off by contractors and consulting firms and anyone else who had their fingers in that pie, basically, and nothing ended up getting built, and we lost a huge amount of public money as a result of that. So governments don't necessarily spend the money wisely, appropriately, or in the best interests of the people. What we really need is a basic income, and we need that taxation money to go directly back to the people so that they can reinvest it back in the economy, so that we don't have pubs, restaurants, shops going out of business, and we have thriving high streets and so on, and people spending money in their local economies, supporting local businesses, and getting this recirculation of money going around the system, so that we don't have this late stage capitalism situation that we have at the moment, whereby all the money is concentrated in the hands of a tiny fraction of the population, and everyone else is struggling and not spending money in the economy, and businesses are not thriving, putting prices up because they need to survive. And this is basically what happens. And this is what Gary's been pointing out. But sorry to say, millionaires are not the problem. Yes, they are. And Gary is a millionaire, so he is part of the problem. He should give his money away. And I had another comment saying, like, say Gary earns £1 million a year, he'd be able to give an average income to 20 people, as if to say, like, he could do nothing about the problem. It's like, well, that's 20 people lifted out of poverty. That's a great thing. If he were to do that, I would wholeheartedly support him if he were to do that. Lots of celebrities do sort of give their money away and live simpler lives. I'm thinking of people like Cillian Murphy and Keanu Reeves. They live pretty simple lives on not all that much money and give most of it away. They're capable of earning the money back again like that, so it's not a problem for them. And Gary is in that situation. And currently Gary is acting, I think, a bit like Smaug the dragon, and sitting on his big pile of gold, and he's unwilling to share it with the rest of us. So come on, Gary, put your money where your mouth is. Your money needs to catch up with your mouth, and give your money away.